Do you know what? It's another one of those scenarios where I was glad that I was working yesterday. Of course, I did get to watch the game, but I was so glad that I didn't have to make a review after it because, it would be an understatement if I told you that I was absolutely seething after that game. Absolutely seething. And that was no disrespect to Plymouth, by the way. I know it's still a point. And Plymouth, by the way, I will just say, they absolutely were worthy of their point. And they could have easily got all three, in my opinion. However, let's not shy away from the fact that that was an absolutely massive opportunity to gain some ground on those above us. I guess in hindsight, you might be able to take the positive of, we've gained a point on Sheffield United, but either way, let's not beat around the bush. We were playing bottom of the league with no disrespect, and we absolutely should have come away with 3 points, but we have no God-given right to beat Plymouth just because they were bottom of the league. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, they were absolutely value for their point and could have been more than that. It was that bad, in my opinion. But yes, here I am. I need to make the video. I don't really want to make it, or I didn't want to make it, but it'd be very contradictory. It'd be very soft, and it'd be very cowardly if I didn't, because I'm more than happy to make videos when it's all exciting about transfer news and transfer rumours and when we win games. But sometimes I just need to sit in front of the camera and just take it like a man. And I'm speaking as if it was a defeat, but that is exactly how it felt with the way that the game went. But yeah, I'll get into the game in just a moment, but I'm going to do my usual spiel at the beginning. Here's a graphic on screen. Over the last few months, there's been over 50% of you guys that are watching the content, and hopefully you're enjoying the content, but you're just not yet subscribed yet. And there's been quite a big influx of new subscribers since I've been asking at the beginning of the video. So if you are one of them, if you watch the content regularly, and you see me pop up on your feed, and you watch the videos and you're not yet subscribed, if you do, it'd just be massively appreciated, particularly in times like this where I feel like I just need that kick up the arse and a bit of motivation to sit here and discuss the game and give you my opinion. But yeah, it will be massively appreciated, and I appreciate all the new subscribers as well, and of course the subscriber base that we've got anyway. I really do appreciate your support. But getting into the game, the lineup first and foremost, let's address this. I actually said in the preview, and I did think, Jesus, I was almost bang on, not giving myself too much credit, but I did say before the game in the preview, I said that I think that Rodgers will, of course, pay respect to Plymouth. However, I think that if there was going to be any game he's going to make a bit of a rotation or maybe give a start to the likes of Samed, it would be this one, given that Plymouth have just been battered, fresh off a walloping from Burnley and the bottom of the league. This would be the time to do it. And lo and behold, he's gone and done it. Now, has he set up the system in the way that I would have gone for? Maybe not, or the personnel. I've been shouting since Lafayette's first game, and I don't think he's done too much wrong off the left-hand side at all. In fact, I think he's shown his quality and abundance on that left-hand side. But you can just see he's wasted. He's absolutely wasted in there. This was a game where, in the way that it went anyway, we were screaming out for someone to create something straight from the middle, and we didn't have that. But we stuck him out on the left-hand side. But if you look at the system, we did have Samed sitting as the holding role, where Neil usually sits. Neil pushed further forward with Job, like usually it's Job and Rigg, but of course Rigg sat on the bench and Neil pushed forward in that role. And I did say in the game against, I think it was in the cup against Stoke, when we did push Neil into that role, and that's where Neil, prior to having this holding role for however long he's had it now, that's usually where you would want to put Dan Neil. But I think he's been in that holding role for so long that he kind of looks a little bit lost and he doesn't really know where to place himself. And that's what I said in the game against Stoke. And I feel that that was similarly the case in this game. It was almost a bit too safe, and you could see that sometimes he was kind of anchoring to try and go back into that holding role and didn't know where to place himself sometimes. And he did have a very, very good chance early on. We put the ball forward. It was knocked down for him from the Plymouth defender, and he's hit it on the half volley from distance. It was a cracking volley, cracking save. But what was frustrating for me, particularly in that first half, we made a handful of little half chances, but if anything, Plymouth had the better chance in that first half. Balls put in, Hardy with the free header and should have put it on target. He's hit it wide, but we had half chances, and that was really it. And I've seen a lot of people give Samed a lot of stick. And second half, I can kind of get on board. I don't think he was fantastic by any stretch. But first half, I think it's similar to the whole Corey Evans fiasco. Remember when Corey Evans first started and everyone was just saying, what the hell does he contribute? every time he's on the ball, he just gives it to the first person he sees. It's short passing, it's easy, doesn't contribute anything. Then it only took a while until people actually understood his role and what he does. What Samed's role is, it isn't glamorous, it isn't fancy. He's not someone who's going to turn on the spin and then ping someone in behind or hit it from 50 yards or take on a few players. That isn't his role. I was actually quite pleased with what I saw from Samed in the first half, and I'll explain why. Because what he was doing, because he was playing his role so well, it was giving Job and Neil the ability to almost permanently sit towards that final third because he had that centre covered. I think defensively, not outstanding in terms of like challenging and stuff, but what he is constantly that link between our first third and the middle third and onwards. So he would constantly sit just in front of the back four and he would constantly move along and he's constantly moving, constantly making himself available. As soon as they need to hit off someone, the defence, if there's no one going forward, he's immediately there available to, and yes, he might only just give a little 5-yard pass, but if Sirkin, say for example, is on the left hand side, that Lefay isn't on, he would come over quickly, he would find the gap, he won't be hiding behind men like Dan Neil sometimes does in the holding role. He would make sure there's a gap, ask for it, and if they ping it across, it's like a Mepham or an O'Nien. So it's a quick pivot out of danger, and that's what it is. It's giving that constant option for the back four to then move it on and we can start an attack elsewhere. And that's what I mean. It gave Job and Neil that freedom to sit higher up because he did all of that passing there. But no one sees it because it's not glamorous and it looks easy because all he's doing is picking up the ball and then giving it back inside was 2-3 yards. But I did see the benefit of that. And what was frustrating, because he was doing that so well, and like I said, it did give Job and Neil the space and time to be pushed forward. They were horrendous off the ball, in my opinion, in that first half. Like, Job only once or twice did he actually turn and get at the man. Neil, of course, he had that one chance. But other than that, they didn't do anything, even though Samed gave them the licence to be basically anywhere they wanted to roam. They were so easy to mark. They were lethargic. And then it was them that were doing what everyone was complaining that Samed were doing. They were coming deep for it, and then they just tap it back to Samed or tap it back to the defence. And I just don't think they contributed as much as they should have done. They should have asked so many more questions against this Plymouth side, which again, no disrespect to him, but they should have done, and they didn't. You know, I felt like we needed a bit of spark in that area. So that's why I mean, like with Dan Neil there, so used to that holding role. If you had like a Lefay where Dan Neil was, I think, or even a Rig maybe, it would have been a very different story. I think we would have created more down the centre, but they just looked a bit lost, them two. You know, Roberts on the right-hand side, you know, he needs some competition, Roberts. I don't think he's a poor player, but for me, he was just slowing the play down persistently. But yeah, that first half, we didn't make anywhere near enough. Second half comes out, and Plymouth, to their credit, they did look a lot more dangerous, but we were sort of sitting a bit more, and it was poor. We needed to make changes, and they eventually did break the deadlock, and it was just an absolute faff of a goal. So ball gets put in, and I will say as much credit, and I do give credit to, that's a Mepham, I think probably our best centre-back in my opinion, by a bit of a stretch actually. I do think he's a very, very good defender. He had a horror show. Absolute horror show. Ball's put in, very little pace on the cross, but it comes to him. Maybe he didn't see it till quite late, but he still needs to have himself positioned and ready, and you think someone of his experience would be ready for it, but he just let it come across. No, like I say, no pace on it, there's no velocity in the ball, and he just almost like let it hit, and it just bounced off his shin, rolled to his man. Patterson comes out, and it's the tightest of angles. He should have stood his ground for me, Patterson, but he's come out to it, tried to make himself big, but he's got to just flap to the ground, and he has got a touch in it when Hardy's tried to nick it in at a very tight angle, as I say. But if anything, Patterson's touch actually takes it more towards goal as opposed to away. And then as we tried to sort of clamour it off the line, it's already just past the line. So of course the ref blows. It's 1-0 to Plymouth. Now I was very happy with the response. Trey Hume on the right hand side, fantastic ball in. This was immediately after we did concede. Fantastic ball in. Isidore has to hit it first time on the volley, and the keeper's rooted and hits in the bottom corner. Fantastic. Great. Now let's keep on going now. Let's keep on going. Straight after that, we brought Mayenda on. I'm thinking absolutely fantastic. Get a bit of pace against him. And he was going for it on the right side as well when he did push over. But then Trey Hume, assist for the first goal. And I've seen a lot of people give Trey Hume a lot of stick and saying he's the weak link, which I agree that I think in recent weeks he hasn't hit the level or the standard that he has in previous seasons. I agree with that. However, he is not the weakest link in this squad. He is absolutely not the weakest link. And for people to come away from that game after a goal and assist and thinking that he is the weak link from that game or the weakest link from that game baffles me, quite frankly. But yeah, he did get the second goal to put us in the lead. Little dink free kick from Roberts on the left-hand side. Finds Trey Hume. And he puts it with sort of like the outside of his foot. He puts it into the far corner. Fantastic finish. But this is where I'm going to put blame on Rodgers and, of course, the players as well. But Rodgers, how many times have we seen it this season where we only go a goal up and then he just floods the defenders on the pitch? We're at home. Again, no disrespect. We're at home. We've just taken the lead against bottom of the league. Why on earth are we flooding the defenders on, bending over and saying, come and get it? What are you doing? Plymouth, in the half, had already shown that they can hurt us, and they'd already made a very good chance. They hit the post. Patterson actually did get a touch on it, and it hit the post. But why on earth would we start flooding the changes? So 2-1, it brings Isidore off, our vocal points. Now we no longer have that. Brings on Ballard, so then O'Nien pushes over to the left-hand side. Sherkin comes off as well. And then only a couple of minutes later, he brings on Yelder. So then O'Nien goes into a back five and Yelder's left back. So he's absolutely piling on the changes, asking for it, which is just ridiculous in itself. And of course, lo and behold, it's only a matter of time when they do manage to get their goal. And it's just the defending. I know I complain about Rodgers putting all the defenders on, but what is the point in having all the defenders on if not fucking defend? It was absolutely awful, horrendous defending. When the ball originally goes in, it's not dealt with a couple of times. It goes over to the right-hand side. The dink is headed into the air. Patterson, as usual, is rooted to his line. He kind of goes for it a minute and then thinks, oh, no, I'm not going to go for it. Then it's left to their man who thumps it. Fantastic finish. But there's gaps all over the box. Patterson again, poor. And and even when they do strike the ball, if you have a look at Patterson, he's kind of nearly makes himself big, and then just sort of goes like that, like he's shitting himself for the ball and it flies into the corner. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. 2-2. Fair play to Plymouth to get the point, but it's just piss poor management at the end of the game. When you're at home, you go a goal up. I get it. Of course, you need to be somewhat cautious. We really want this 3 points. It'd be a massive 3 points, but we need to keep a focal point up top or give ourselves a chance of a threat as well. But it's completely just destroyed the lineup. I don't think that this was a game to, just to try and, what's the word? Maybe experiment too much. It's bottom of the league, and I did say I thought he'd pay a bit more respect, but I don't think this was a game for Samed. I did say that I thought that this is the kind of game he would bring him on, and I'd kind of understand why, but I don't think this was the right game for Samed to sort of like try and test and try him out, because Samed's someone who, if you do want to just keep hold of a game, maintain possession, that's what you want, but not against a team who are bottom of the league. You want to get all the majority of your attacking plays. You want to get everything that suits our attacking play, and it didn't suit it. And again, that's not me knocking Samed. Second half, I think he had a poor half. First half, I think he did his job perfectly. But second half, he did lose the ball a couple of times, and one of them actually led to the goal. So it's one of the goals, should I say. So it's just one of them, piss poor defending, so I do blame the defenders, but why is Rodgers done it in the first place anyway? He needs to be more ruthless and be more brave, and that was piss poor management. It just has to be said. But yeah, I think for me, it's just a line-up. I think if we had Lefay down the centre, maybe instead of Neil, possibly, and had Neil in his usual spot, or even just Samed there anyway instead of Neil, but of course Neil's not going to get dropped. I think it may have worked either way. Left-hand side, you could have had Al-Shish, who's just a bit more creative and something there. Could have created something. I think he's been managed very, very badly as well, Al-Shish. I understand that we've got players coming in. We've got Mundell and Watson coming in, but Al-Shish didn't really put a foot wrong when he was played on that left-hand side. And then he's just been dropped totally because Lefay's come in. He's not even getting in off the bench. He must think, what the fuck am I got to do here? I think it's a little bit unfair, and I think you can see from a mile off that Lefay's wasted on the left. Get him in the middle where he's supposed to be, and we could have created something there, but we didn't. We were just adamant, and I think a bit too stubborn there in the tactics and in the system. But yeah, very, very frustrating. In hindsight, we didn't lose for one. It is a point. There's still plenty of games of the season. We're only a few points off the top. It isn't the end of the world, but it's chances like these you have to take if you want to go up in the automatics. And for me, at the end, I feel like I'm digging him out a bit too much, or some players too much. But for me, I think a conversation has to be had. about Anthony Patterson. I really do. And I've always said I don't rate him anywhere near as much as some do. I've always said I think he's an okay keeper. He's a decent keeper. I think that's it. And yet he made a fantastic save yesterday when he tipped it onto the post. But for every one good thing he does 5 wrong things. And a lot of them might go unnoticed because they don't lead directly to a goal. But how many times am I going to see a cross that literally just lands on the edge of the 6-yard box and he's rooted to his line? Or his decision making and control of the box is non-existent. The credit I'll give it is that in recent weeks, over the last 2 or 3 games maybe, I have actually seen him come out and punch the ball. But it's been once or twice. Do you know what I mean? But the amount of times he needs to come and claim the ball, try and come out and claim it, catch it, or punch it either way, and then just ignores it. Unfortunately for him, we managed to get away because the defenders... It happens so often in a game. And of course, we can always talk about his distribution, which is largely horrendous. And I get it. And I just think that, of course, his shot stopping is good. It is. And again, like I said, he's a decent keeper, nothing more, nothing less. But he is definitely not a goalkeeper worthy of an automatic spot or for a team that goes automatics. Do you know what I mean? Or going for automatic. I just don't think he is. And we need someone who really does dominate the ball. You look at Johansson from Stoke. He's a couple of years older than Anthony, but his streets above, in my opinion. Commands the box, comes out and punches. His saves in itself are fantastic. Reflex is fantastic. He does the shot stopping just as good as Pato, but in every other area, he's better. And he's a couple of years. And people say, oh, he's young, is this, that. He's 24, and he's played just as many games as some 30-year-old goalkeepers. So it just isn't an excuse. And again, I don't think he's a shit keeper. I don't. I think he's okay, decent at best for me. But I can't see him improving too much. I don't know. It's just not my kind of goalkeeper. I don't know whether we're keeping him there until Matty Young is of a standard that he can come in. I don't know. If someone come in with like a £10 million bid for Pat, I would take it, snap their hand off. And I know that some people have an affiliation with him and an affinity with him because, of course, he comes from our academy. And I love to see academy players come through. I've said it many times. In the cup when we seen, Harrison Jones, we seen Neil, Rigg, and Pat was, there's players like that coming through. I love seeing that, but just because of that, I can't just not call a spade when it largely so much of his game needs to be improved on. It's the same thing we've said for about 3-4 years, and there's been next to no improvement. So I don't know. I apologise for ranting about him. I know I'm probably going to piss some people off, but I feel like it's just got to be said at some point. Either way, guys, I'm going to leave it at there because I could literally sit here for half an hour, and you might enjoy me moaning for half an hour, but it's not too enjoyable for me. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. I know I've just sort of rambled. I might have contradicted myself a few times and annoyed people with certain things, but it's just, this is what this is. This is what these videos are. I just ramble. I don't have anything prepared. I just chat shit. I hope you guys enjoy it. But yeah, hit the like button for me if you do agree. If you don't agree, let me know in the comments down below. What would you have changed? What do you think went wrong? Let me know what you thought about the game in general. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, take care. Stay jammy. How are the lads? Keep our heads up. Come on.